when you walk into the interviewer already, is viewing you as an immigrant, looks at you as somebody who's going to go study and not come back. And so you need to convince them otherwise. You need to make a case as to why they should give you the visa. All right? Very important. Whenever you're answering questions as a student, when you're getting your F1 visa, make sure that you're referencing ties. Welcome everybody. So today we're going to talk about some of the reasons why you will be denied a student visa at the US Embassy. So one of the main reasons why people get denied a student visa, which is an F1 visa, is because they cannot afford school. So that means the evidence that you presented showed that you were not able to afford school. And, the Immigration and National Act says that if you're applying for a visa, they deem you an immigrant. That means they deem you as somebody who's going to come here and stay permanently until you prove otherwise that you are a non-immigrant. And so when you go, for your visa interview with your I-20 and you're not able to back up enough to say that, you're able to provide for yourself, the U.S. doesn't want to admit you into the U.S. to become a burden, to the system. They don't want to just admit you if you are not able to afford, because that means you're going to work illegally to be able to try and, you'll become a burden to the U.S. And so that, they will deny you a visa because you're not able to afford. So make sure when you go for the interview, make sure that your bank statement looks good. And if you're not able to, if you don't have enough support by yourself, make sure that you get additional, an affidavit of support from someone else to say that, hey, we'll take care of you while you're here. We'll take care of you. And that affidavit of support has to be from somebody in your home country. It cannot be somebody in the US. So because they say, assurances from people in the US don't really count. Okay. So if you don't have a strong enough bank statement, make sure that you get somebody else who, will give you an affidavit of support and notarize it to say that, they will support you when you're here and you're studying. So yeah, lack of support is one of those things. The other thing is, you don't have the right academic credentials. Your grades, your schooling, what you're applying to come get. Sometimes your academic credentials don't match, and so that plays a role. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't get a visa, but it plays a role into the decision. Because if you got an E and you applied to school, if you got a bad grade in school and you apply to come here to the US and continue your studies, and that kind of works against you, and so that's one of the things you when you come here, you need to have your story ready about why, if your academic credentials don't line up, you need to have a good story as to why, and you need to explain it when they ask you the question. And so, if you don't have the right academic credentials, that can play against you too. And also, when you walk into the interviewer already, is viewing you as an immigrant, looks at you as somebody who's going to go study and not come back. And so you need to convince them otherwise. You need to make a case as to why they should give you the visa. All right. Very important. Whenever you're answering questions as a student, when you're getting your F1 visa, make sure that you're referencing ties. Make sure that you are reflecting that in the way you respond to questions, to show them that the reason why you are going for school is not so that you can just go for school, you're going for school for a bigger reason. There's a bigger reason why, and you can tie one of the best ways to have strong ties is to tie what you're going to do with what is back home. You can tie your education to something that you're already doing. Maybe it's an initiative that you've started to help kids, and you're coming here to study something that is alongside that. You're coming here to do research on a crisis that is back home, that you aim to go to the US that has advanced, technologies and research in that area, because you want to come back and you want to use that skill, you want to use that research, those resources to be able to, be a benefit to your community. And so tying the purpose, the why you're going to back home is a really strong tie, sometimes bigger than owning houses and jobs, because you're proving you're proving to the interviewer that, hey, this person is passionate. They're passionate because it's almost like you left your hurt in Kenya, or you left your hurt in wherever country you apply, you did your visa interview, and then you're just taking your body and your brain because you want to absorb as much as possible, but you want to come back, and you want to come back and just pour into your community. You want to come back and pour into your into your nation. So that is really key. It's really key to be able to paint it to the interviewer that is the reason why you're going to study, because they see that. Involve them in your story. Tell a good story. Tell a good story, an honest, true story. That's what I did. I told a story of growing up in abject poverty and how me going to study was going to help me break the generational curse of poverty in my life. And I got the interviewer involved in my case in such a way that, they were almost cheering for me after I told them my story. They were almost cheering me to go do that so that I can break the cycles of poverty from my family. And so strong tie whatever you're going to do with back home. That's always a plus for you. But also make sure you fill out your DS-160 completely. It's kind of like, you need to start the ignition key before you drive off. So you need to make sure when you fill your DS-160, make sure it's complete. It has everything. You've outlined your story. You've outlined your story well. You've prepared for your story, but you've also outlined it well in the DS-160. So yeah, have a story ready. I've already told you about that. But also one of the things that is really important is you need to highlight the good things. Okay, you need to paint the best pictures, but you also need to know what your hurdles are. You also need to know, what are some of those things that if they ask me a question are not going to work in my favor. You need to have a response for that. You need to highlight, these are the highlights. These are the strong points why they should give me a visa. But also these are some of the reasons why, if they ask this, if they talk about this, it could be a reason why I don't get the visa. And so while you're answering your question, highlight your highlights. Let the interviewer, shine them bright for the interviewer to see and be amazed. Involve them in your story, like I told you, but also engage with the interviewer just like you would with anybody else, because it can also tell the story of this guy is going to fit in the US. He is going to survive. He's going to fit in with the culture, just the way he talks, he communicates. You're having a communication with the interviewer. You're getting them involved in your journey. And so it's kind of like, whether it's 3 minutes, whether it's a minute, make the interviewer involved in your story. Invite them into your story. And I feel like when you do that, when you show them who you are, it gives them, it makes it easier for them to say, hey, I like this guy. I like his personality. I like who he is, the way he presents himself, because it's like you're going to meet college people who are the same thing, the same as the interviewer. And it's the way you hold conversation, you hold polite conversations, you're speaking in full sentences, and, you just Yeah, you're passing your point across. You're making a case for, I don't want to be an immigrant. I don't want to come to the US and stay there. I want to be a non-immigrant. I want to go to the US with a purpose, and I want to attain that purpose, but I also want to come back home, to my community, to my country, to my nation. Thank you.